All right, 8th graders, today we're going to talk about polynomials. And we first are going to start with what a monomial is. A monomial is a number, a variable, or a product of numbers and variables with whole number exponents. So some examples of monomials would be 3x, 3x, negative 17x squared, y to the 4th, z to the 121st power. Those are all monomials. It's just one kind of unit, and they can be products, right? So this is all a product. These things are all multiplied together. We just don't write those multiplication symbols. These are multiplied. This could even be considered a multiplication. It's just 1x, 1 times x, and then 3 is just your number. Degree of a monomial is the sum of the exponents of the variables of a monomial. So, for example, if we're talking about, well, let's start with 3. If we're talking about 3, the degree of the monomial 3 is 0. Because there's no exponent on a variable. The degree of 1x, well, the exponent on the x is a 1. So this is a first degree monomial. This is also a first degree monomial. And then this one, so it says the sum of the exponents. So we have a squared, a 4th power, and a 121st power, which means this is a monomial to the 127th degree monomial. So if we look at the monomials down here, the degree of 5x squared is just the second degree. This has an exponent of 3, but the x has an exponent of 1. So we add those together, we get a 4th degree monomial. The 3 has no variable and no exponent, so it's a degree of 0. This one has a variable with 1 exponent, which is 4th degree. The next one is a 3rd power and a 2nd power, so that's a 5th degree. And then this just has an exponent of 1, so it's a first degree. So when we're talking about a monomial, just one thing multiplied together, we find the degree by looking at the sum of all of the exponents. When we're talking about a polynomial, poly, we know, means many. So a polynomial is many monomials. A polynomial does include monomials, though. So a polynomial is a monomial or a sum of monomials. Each monomial is a term of the polynomial. So if we had, for example, a polynomial that was, let's say, 5x to the 4th plus 3x squared minus 7xyz. The 5x to the 4th is a term. The 3x squared is a term. And the negative 7xyz is a term. Notice I include the negative with the 7. So monomials are just sums. So if there's a minus sign, that means that that thing is actually negative. So this polynomial has 3 terms. And the degree of a polynomial, here's where things get confusing, is just the greatest degree of all of the terms. So you have to look at each of the terms. So this is 4th degree. This one is 2nd. And this one is 1, 2, 3, 3rd degree. So the degree of this polynomial is, it's a 4th degree. And because there are 3 terms, it's a trinomial. So 4th degree trinomial. So when you're classifying a polynomial, you look at the greatest degree of each individual monomial. Alright, so, oh, let me go back. The other thing that you need to know about polynomials is how their standard form looks. So, polynomials in standard form means that the degrees, terms are listed greatest to least degree. So this is not in standard form. For this to be in standard form, 4th degree would come first, 3rd degree would come second, and 2nd degree would come last, because largest to smallest. Alright, so let's look. We have a polynomial. It is just one monomial, negative 3z to the 4th. So it's the 4th degree, and it's a monomial. There's just one piece. On this one, we have 3 terms. Standard form is going to be largest exponent to smallest, so 5x squared plus x plus 4. The degree, we just look at the largest, so this is a 2nd degree. And it's a 1, 2, 3 pieces trinomial. Here we have 2 pieces, q to the 3rd power plus 8q would be standard form. It's 3rd degree because of this 3, and it's a binomial. 4 minus 9z. Be careful on this one. The standard form would be negative 9z plus 4. 4 is positive, 9 is negative. It's 1st degree because the z is to the 1st power. It's also a binomial. Next we start with negative t cubed plus t squared minus 10t, and that would be a 3rd degree trinomial. And then last we have x cubed plus 2.8x, which would be a 3rd degree binomial. Anything after trinomial is just classified as poly. So 4th degree and higher is just polynomial. We really only classify mono, bi, and tri. Alright, so let's get to the good part, the real world problem. The polynomial negative 16t squared plus v sub 0t plus s sub 0 represents the height in feet of an object, where v sub 0 is the initial velocity in feet per second, s sub 0 is the initial height of the object in feet, and t is the time in seconds. Write a polynomial that represents the height of a baseball being thrown straight up at a rate of 30 feet per second. So initial velocity is in feet per second, so that's v sub 0. From a height of 4 feet, s sub 0 is initial height. So I fill this in. Negative 16 t squared plus 30 t plus 4. So do we see that we just filled in v sub 0, s sub 0, and kept everything else the same? So there's our polynomial. What is the height of the baseball after 1 second? Well, t represents time. So we fill in 1 second for t. So negative 16 times t squared plus 30 times 1 plus 4. I meant to write 1 squared here. So we got negative 16 times 1 plus 30 times 1 is 30 plus 4. This is negative 16. Negative 16 plus 30 is 14. 14 plus 4 is 18. So the height of the baseball after 1 second is 18 feet. So the ball started at 4 feet. So imagine that. That's probably just from standing height. You throw the ball at 4 feet off the ground. And then after 1 second, the ball is 18 feet off the ground. If the initial height is 5 feet, what is the height of the baseball after 2 seconds? So now we're changing the initial height to 5. So let's see what happens when we change initial height to 5. We get negative 16t squared plus 30t plus 5. And now we're using 2 seconds, so negative 16 times 2 squared plus 30 times 2 plus 5. So negative 16 times 2 squared would be 4. Negative 16 times 4 is negative 64. Plus 30 times 2 is 60. Plus 5. Negative 64 plus 60 is negative 4. Negative 4 plus 5 is 1 foot. So if the initial height is 5 feet, after 2 seconds, the ball is 1 foot off the ground, which means if this is the ground and you threw the ball at 5 feet, after 2 seconds, the ball has gone up and come down and is 1 foot off the ground. Alright, so you guys have 4 polynomials to identify. You need to write what degree and classify the polynomial, mono, bi, tri, or poly, and then try that last one, try filling in the initial velocity and the height to find what happens to the ball that you drop off of a skyscraper. Alright, have a good night.